So, 2022 is finally upon us. Well, it did start a couple of months ago, but, in typical fashion for me, I am fashionably late with this video. But with 2022 now, right here, right now, we do have a whole new year of films to look forward to. And after 2021, which was a pretty solid year for films in my opinion, there was a lot of great stuff that came out last year, a lot of stuff that I really enjoyed. Especially, it was a very satisfying year, after 2020, where so many films were delayed. It was great to have so many of them actually grace our big screens. What I'm really looking forward to in 2022 is just seeing the film industry kind of really get back together and really bring out some quality entertainment that I think all of us are really going to enjoy. So what I want to do in this video is, even though we are a couple of months into the year, is discuss my top 10 most anticipated films for 2022, and thankfully all the films I have on this list haven't actually come out yet, so I'm still in the clear. So let's dive in, starting off at number 10 with Avatar 2. Now, before I created this list and I was thinking about what films I was looking forward to most this year, Avatar 2 was not really in the conversation for me. However, when I looked at all the films coming out this year, something about Avatar kind of grabbed me. And I think it's just because Avatar 2, there is this natural curiosity about it. It is this film that's been a long time coming, the sequel that has been long in development. And with Avatar being such a kind of cultural phenomenon at the time, there is this kind of global interest, I think, in this sequel. And you can never underestimate James Cameron. That's the thing. James Cameron is always that guy who, every film he makes is kind of a huge deal. And I think with Avatar 2, I'm not sure how Avatar 3, 4, and 5 are going to go down. I do feel like the interest in the Avatar series is vastly kind of overprojected by 20th Century Fox and thus Disney. I don't think there is actually that much interest in Avatar for them to make 5 sequels that are going to be as successful as the original. But I do feel like with this sequel, it's just going to be interesting to return to this world, see what it's like, see how it's going to be able to grow and evolve. The first film was such a marvel of CGI. Given how CGI has evolved in the last 10 years, it is going to be interesting to see kind of how Pandora is created with modern technology. And again, just returning to this world, I'm not the biggest lover of Avatar. I like it. I think it's a good film. I think it's an enjoyable film, but it's not what I love by any means. I'm still really interested to actually see just what Avatar 2 is going to be. Another film I'm super excited for this year, and the first Marvel film on this list, is Thor: Love and Thunder. Now, Thor is kind of low on this list than what I thought he would be, given how much I love Ragnarok. However, the reason why I think Thor is kind of lower down on the list is just because Thor: Love and Thunder, we haven't really seen anything from it yet. Well, so we know a few details about it. We know that Natalie Portman is returning and is going to be playing the mighty Thor, which is definitely a direction I never thought they'd go with the MCU, but I'm definitely really excited to see what they do with it. Of course, Taika Waititi is returning to write and direct, which is fantastic news. And Christian Bale is also going to be playing the main villain of the film, Gore the God Butcher, who's a very interesting character from Marvel Comics, who I'm very excited to see adapted onto the big screen. So Thor: Love and Thunder, just based on Ragnarok, I'm excited about. But it doesn't trump a lot of the other films on this list, purely because we just haven't seen a lot from it. And by the way, that statement about me saying that the reason why it's lower down on the list is because we've not really seen from it, I'm going to totally contradict later, but we'll get to that. Coming in at number 8 is Jurassic World Dominion. I am really looking forward to this film, I'm not going to lie. The Jurassic Park franchise is one that is very, very hit and miss with me. The original 3 are ones that I appreciate, and particularly the first one, I appreciate it, but it's not a film that's particularly close to my heart. Jurassic World, I really enjoy. Like, the original Jurassic World, I think is a really fun film. And Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom is kind of hit and miss within the film itself. But Dominion, I am really excited to see because it does feel like the proper culmination of all of it. You have the original cast members from the original films returning, along with our new cast members from the Jurassic World series, and also just the concept of this. This is kind of what I think the Jurassic Park franchise has been building to from day one. The kind of culmination of humans and dinosaurs coexisting and cohabitating the Earth in this big kind of explosive kind of finale. I'm super excited to see what they do with this, how they wrap it up, because it's such a cool, interesting idea. I just really hope they don't drop the ball. But the trailers have been really cool so far. I've really enjoyed what we've seen from it. It's great to see the old cast members again. And, I think it's really cool that Colin Trevorrow has come back to kind of direct this final film in the series. He did direct the original Jurassic World, and I think he did a good job with that. So I'm really excited to see kind of what he does with the size and the scale of this Jurassic film. In at number 7, I have Lightyear. Now, this is one of the films coming from Pixar this year, and this is quite easy for me. I mean, I'm a huge Toy Story fan. I grew up with Toy Story, so them kind of doing not Toy Story 5, but a Toy Story kind of spin-off is not something I predicted, but I think is really cool. The idea of this, them kind of doing a full origin story of the character of Buzz Lightyear that the toy is based upon, it's a cool concept. Like, as a Toy Story fan, that gets me excited. And I'm really, really interested to see kind of the animation of this, particularly with them going into space. We've seen that before with Pixar, with WALL-E, which was really great. WALL-E is one of my favourite Pixar films. So I'm really excited to see what they do with that. We do have Chris Evans voicing Buzz in this, which is definitely going to be a little bit jarring. Obviously, it's not Tim Allen, but I mean, this isn't technically the same character, so it's still cool, and we all love Chris Evans. So I'm really excited to see what they actually do with Lightyear and kind of how cool it's going to be for Pixar. I think it's going to be quite a different film for them as well, because it's probably going to be one of their more probably realistic films. But I think this is going to be great for not only Pixar fans, but also Toy Story fans. And as a fan of both, I'm really invested. Coming in at number 6, we have The Flash. The Flash has been another film on this list that's a long time coming. I mean, the Flash film, when it was originally announced, was meant to come out back in 2018. That's crazy to think about. But now it's finally coming out this year after so many director changes and stuff like that. And I think finally the film landed in good hands with Andy Muschietti. I think he's a really cool choice to direct. DC has had a lot of success recently with horror directors doing their big budget superhero movies, like James Wan did Aquaman and David F. Sandberg did Shazam. So I think getting Andy Muschietti to do The Flash is a cool idea. Now, this film is very much doing a multiverse story. It seems to be combining multiverse stuff with the Flashpoint storyline, which is something that I think is a little bit risky given the fact that this is the first live-action debut of The Flash on big screen. Obviously, we do have the Flash TV show, which, I mean, I don't know if you can see my statue there, but I mean, I'm a big fan of that show. I still think it's kind of a little bit risky as the first Flash film to kind of jump straight into Flashpoint. As I feel like you kind of need to build up some love for the character first, which I don't think it has. I mean, I know we have had the Flash in other movies, but he's not really been, a lead character before. But, at the same time, multiverse stuff, as we've seen recently with all the Marvel stuff, has been really, really exciting. And we do know that Michael Keaton is returning as Batman from his 1980s films, which is just awesome news. Like, that's just really cool to see. My only sort of main hesitation with this film is that I'm really not a big fan of Ezra Miller as the Flash. I think every appearance he's had, he's just not convinced me in the role. I don't think he's a particularly good Barry Allen. I don't particularly enjoy him as the Flash. I'm a much bigger fan of Grant Gustin from the TV show. I mean, maybe in this film, now he actually has like the starring role. He may surprise me, but in a supporting role in both versions of Justice League and, all of his other little appearances here and there, I've just not been impressed by him. And he kind of annoys me in the role, to be honest. I find his version of the Flash to be quite annoying. So I'm hoping that in this film he really finds his mulligan and actually is able to embrace the character properly. But other than that, I'm pretty excited to see what this film actually is. And I'm just happy that as a fan of the Flash, like as a fan of the character both on TV and in the comics, I'm excited to see this character finally come to the big screen in his own way. Now, in the middle of my list, at number 5, we have Knives Out 2. Now, this is the film I said I was going to contradict myself with later because we have literally seen next to nothing from this film outside of a tiny little clip from a little Netflix preview a couple weeks ago. But this film, I just can't help but be super excited for. The original Knives Out is a masterpiece. Like, it's such a great film in my opinion, and it was one of my favorites of 2019. So the fact they're doing a sequel to it, I never thought would be something that would immediately jump to, but it's such a great idea, taking Daniel Craig as Benoit Blanc and kind of making him this Poirot-esque character to take on these multiple murder mystery journeys, because we do know we are getting a third film as well. I just think it's a tremendous idea, and taking how brilliant that first film was with that ensemble cast, what they can do with that with each film, just bringing in new people is great. I'm not as in love with this cast as I was with the first movie. Like the first movie, I think they absolutely nailed every single cast member. With this, it's a bit more hit and miss for me. I do feel like with the first Knives Out, they kind of created this vibe with it that was really niche and really special and is really hard to recreate, and I don't think they have recreated it with this. I might be surprised when I actually see the film and I see them actually bounce off of each other, but the first film, I just knew as it was being cast week after week after week, I was like, yes, this is perfect, this is going to work. I didn't have that with this. So I am a little bit worried that the dynamic of all of these characters isn't going to blend together as well as the first film did, particularly with actors like Dave Bautista and Edward Norton. Like, they just don't scream Knives Out to me. But I'm really interested to see what they do with it. And again, I'm just excited for more in this world with Benoit Blanc and with Rian Johnson once again writing and directing. I think there's very little room for it to go wrong. I'm just really hoping that it does stick the landing. And also, just one more thing about Knives Out 2. I'm really sad that this film is coming to Netflix. Like, Netflix has bought the rights to Knives Out 2 and 3. I do wish that it was being released theatrically, but at least we're still getting it. And coming in at number 4 is Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Now, this is just pure nostalgia for me. Sonic the Hedgehog, the original, when it came out in 2020, was such a huge surprise for me. Like, it was a film I was interested to see. You know, I was a huge fan of Sonic growing up. Like, he was literally one of my favourite things growing up. So when I found out they were doing a Sonic film, of course I was initially apprehensive. But I love the first Sonic film. I think that film is so tremendously fun. A great kids movie, and also just a great movie in and of itself. And as a Sonic fan, I was immensely satisfied. And with this sequel, you know, we're getting a lot of really cool elements coming in. We have Jim Carrey, who's kind of really embracing the role of Eggman. Now he actually has the actual full look. We also have Tails coming in, voiced by Colleen O'Shaughnessy, which is really great. You know, the voice actress from the games, really enjoying that. And we're also getting Knuckles, played by Idris Elba, which is just awesome. And based on the trailer, you know, there seems to be a lot more hints at the lore going on. We get to see the Chaos Emeralds and potentially the Master Emerald, which would make sense if they are bringing Knuckles in. I just feel like that this film is really going to expand upon the lore of the Sonic world, while also delivering a lot of really cool and fun action as well, which the first film did. So just as a fan of the original and a fan of the IP, I just can't wait to see what they do with the sequel. And they've already greenlit a third film, which is great news. So I'm just really hoping that means that we get Shadow in the third. And bringing us into the top 3 is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. The other Marvel film that's on this list. I mean, it's hard for me with the MCU because I just love the MCU. But Doctor Strange is definitely my most anticipated Marvel project of the year. Or maybe Moon Knight, I'm not too sure. But Doctor Strange 2, it just looks so fantastic. I mean, we've had 2 trailers now, both of which were absolutely mind-blowing to watch. I think what's really exciting about this is the fact that Sam Raimi is directing. Like, the fact that he's returning to the superhero genre after Spider-Man 3, which he kind of was, I guess, blacklisted for a long time. It's really sweet, actually, and it's really nice. And I like the fact that the marketing is actually hyping up Sam Raimi. And of course, with this being a multiverse film, similarly to Spider-Man No Way Home, we're really going to see a lot of awesome potential cameos and characters. Of course, the most recent trailer did hint at Patrick Stewart as a variant of some description of Professor X from the X-Men films, and I think there's going to be so much more along those lines coming in this film. And also, I love Doctor Strange. Like, the original Doctor Strange I thought was such a great film, and I'm just so happy we're finally getting a sequel. You know, it feels like this has been one of the longest waits we've had for a sequel for an origin character, and I'm really excited to see what they do with it, especially because I think Doctor Strange as a character has gotten better and more interesting with every appearance. We've seen him in the MCU, you know, from Infinity War to Endgame to No Way Home. I think he's just gotten better and better and better. So the fact that he's finally getting his sequel is great. So for me, Doctor Strange 2, I think this is going to be, you know, one of the biggest MCU films. It's going to be one of the most exciting MCU films, and I can't wait to finally see it in May. My runner-up, though, for most anticipated is yet another superhero movie, is The Batman. I've got my tickets booked for The Batman. It comes out next month. So excited for it. The Batman, though, we've had so many Batman films over the years, but something about this one just feels different, you know? I think that when you look at everything we've seen from it and everything we know about it, it just feels like the next step in evolution for the Batman franchise. Obviously, this isn't connected to the DCEU. This is its complete, separate, own thing, like what they did with Joker a couple of years ago. And I think just when you look at the talent involved, that's what gets me hyped about this, particularly the cast. Robert Pattinson as Batman is just phenomenal casting. Like, Robert Pattinson, I can't wait to see him just fully embrace this role, and I think he's going to go really weird with it, which is what I really want him to see, because Robert Pattinson always does well in weird roles, and I think if he embraces that with this, which I think he will, then I think we're going to get a really different but really interesting Bruce Wayne. Also, Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, great. John Turturro as Falcone, I absolutely love. Colin Farrell as the Penguin, can't do no wrong with Colin Farrell. And Paul Dano as the Riddler is honestly inspired casting. Like, that is brilliant. Like, when I first heard about that, I was in love with it, and I still am to this day. Only slight hesitation for me is Matt Reeves as a director. I don't particularly love any of Matt Reeves' films. Particularly, you know, for me, like when he took over the Planet of the Apes franchise, I do feel like it got worse. Like my favorite Planet of the Apes film is the first one, which he didn't direct. But I don't think he's a bad director by any means. And based on what I've seen from this film, you know, in the trailers and stuff, it looks fantastic. So he's kind of really putting my fears to rest there. And I'm just excited to see them do this kind of angry, early adopted Batman. You know, this one that's kind of really new to everything. He's really angry. He's probably going to mess up a lot in the film. And that's a Batman we've not really seen before. You know, every version of Batman we've seen in the past has been pretty proficient or has kind of been along the way in his crime-fighting career. This version of Batman is going to be very new, very green, and I'm excited to see that. So I think that everything surrounding this looks fantastic. It looks so dark. It looks really quite scary in places. And that's something we haven't really seen from Batman before. So I'm really, really hyped about this. And I can't wait, especially because it's so close as well. But taking the top spot for me, and it's kind of funny because this film was meant to come out 2 years ago, is Top Gun Maverick. I mean, Top Gun is one of my all-time favourite films. I adore it, and I actually got to see it for the first time in the cinema last year on my birthday, which was a tremendous experience, and it just made me fall in love with that film all over again. And the fact that the sequel is actually coming out this year, let's hope, I just can't wait to see it. Like, it just looks beautiful. You know, the cinematography and the camera work, particularly with those fighter jet sequences, truly look like incredible, like potentially the best, you know, fighter jet sequences we've ever seen in a film before. Tom Cruise returning once again as Maverick is going to be really cool to see kind of what that character is like so many years down the line. We also do know that Val Kilmer is returning as well as Iceman. I don't know if we found out any other returning cast members, but I know the new cast members do really excite me, like John Hamm, and also Ed Harris, Miles Teller, Glenn Powell. We've got a really cool sort of new ensemble cast to kind of surround Tom Cruise in this. I'm also really excited to see kind of where this world has evolved, because the vibe I'm really getting from the trailer is that they've really matured this world, which I think makes sense given the fact that this film is taking place, you know, 30, 40 years on. It really does make sense that this world kind of has changed and has matured, and it's kind of moved away from the cheesy 80s vibe of the first movie, which granted, I love that vibe, but I think to kind of make this film feel like it's changed and evolved, and for it to feel different, you do have to change the vibe, and I think they have done that. Again, my only worry with this film is the director, Joseph Kosinski. I really do not like his film Oblivion, which he did with Tom Cruise. I think that film is horrendously boring, so I really hope he doesn't suck all the life out of this. But again, it does look very well directed. I just hope that, again, I'm you know, saying it's good that it's been matured and stuff like that. I just hope all the life of the film hasn't been sucked out, because I think that would really take away from the charm and the personality that made me fall in love with Top Gun. So I'm super hyped about Maverick. I think it looks so cool. There is a part of me that is a little bit worried, obviously, because it is such a long time since the original. But either way, even if it's not exactly what I want from a sequel, it's just going to be great to catch up with this world, see these characters again, and potentially for them to deliver a sequel that is worthy of the franchise. So there you have it, guys. There's all the films that I'm looking forward to most in 2022. Make sure you leave your own list in the comment section down below, and let's have a discussion about which films we're all most looking forward to in the comment section below. And if you want to see more content like this, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell, because that will really help me out, and I would just love to see you guys join me in this new year for plenty of more content, and I hope to see you guys again next time.